Hey everybody, Wayne DeFrancesco here again, reminding you to visit my website, WayneDeFrancesco.com. So here's the man of the hour, Mr. Dustin Johnson. And if you're wondering why I've got a picture of Lee Trevino on the other side, we'll check out these positions here. Now, it's a short wedge swing, but notice Trevino's left wrist closed or bowed position at the top, sort of presetting the wrist in an approach to impact, and then you can see the nature of the wrist there. Now look at Dustin Johnson, and what you have is pretty close to the exact same thing. Now, one of the reasons that Dustin Johnson, the fact that he's huge, will hit it a lot further than Trevino. Look at the way the shoulders are still closed, meaning that there's a tremendous amount of differential between the opening of the hips and the snapping closed of the trunk. So when we begin to look at Johnson's swing here, we can start to see some of the interesting things that he does that I've tried to have been pointing out amongst some of the other videos that I've been doing. So if we take a look, we've got a nice still camera swing here. It's a little far away, but I can draw the lines that I usually draw, and the camera angle is good. So if you get your magnifying glass out, we'll take a look. So we'll get a few of the standard lines in here. So one thing we'll notice right away is that it's not a standard takeaway. He leans back a bit, and the hands go out away from the body momentarily. The club face actually starts off by opening, and then as it works up perfectly on plane, by the way, you can see where that shaft is. It's a perfect extension of this line. As he gets to the top, his wrist is pretty much bent over, probably 60, 70 degrees to his left arm. So that's way different, and that's commented on because it's very noticeable. Now the thing I want you to think about is the left wrist is bowed over that much. What is the right wrist doing? So the right wrist is pretty much locked into a bent back position. Now also notice the head. So if you've looked at any of the videos that I've done, I harp on this constantly, and I'll continue to do it because I keep hearing about how horrible dipping your head is from everybody on television and people that like to comment on these videos. Oh, you can't do that, it's not good, Tiger's bad because of it. Wrong, wrong, wrong. He's doing it. Everybody that is hitting the ball good is doing it. Now, where is it coming from? It's coming from the midsection. So as you watch the hip movement, deep right hip maintains the depth. Watch the hips, perfect in the box. That's what we're looking for. Now in the approach, I've been talking about a shaft plane approach. He takes somebody with a wrist like this, and when that right wrist gets bent back like that, it's going to be hard to straighten the right arm out completely. So there's a pretty good chance to give that a little room and to have the shaft stay above the right forearm, which it does nicely. It's probably going to come in a fraction high. Now the finish, other than the hip movement, is interesting in that you can tell that at some point he's worked on keeping gloves or something underneath both arms because nothing would be falling out from under that left arm right there. Now, one of the things I want you to take a look at, now he's a tall guy, but these angles run through the good ball strikers. Take a look at the angle from the left shoulder to the belt buckle. Now, that's really bent over. So when you look at Tiger, if you look at Hogan, if you look at a bunch of good players, you're going to see a lot of bend in that forward swing position. So what's going to happen? Now some guys will stand up taller like Hogan and create the bend. Johnson creates some of it. And you can see that some of that is when that head lowers, it's that deep hip movement. Now here's the shaft angle coming in above the right forearm. There's that left wrist a little bow. The right wrist is set. There's about impact right there. Just pretty much right on the money there. Great footwork. Pretty simple. Now, when we look at the driver, how's that? That's a pretty good turn there. Now, here's a perfect example of why the head would lower in a powerful swing. So it already lowered in the backswing. Now that's after he jacks the thing outside a little bit, and you can see the face open up. Then the wrist will begin to bow, and he'll start to sink. So there's the first lowering. Now, there's the drive off the right into the left. Now watch the right elbow. See, there's the second lowering. And that's going to last until the left arm gets about parallel to the ground. Now, with the spacing he's given himself here, that great hip action, look where that right arm comes in. Now you don't always see this. If you looked at Oosthuizen, his elbow was a little behind him. Johnson's got it fully in front of him, so that it's hooked in for sure. So you can see it as it gets into this area. There is no space in here at all. And then when he releases this thing, I love the footwork. The left heel is not popping up in the air like Paul Casey does. It's nice and down, deep. Now the right elbow, you can see it. Impact is right there. It's still bent. It straightens now. Right into the follow through. And then that finish, it's kind of interesting. He just lets it re-break, and he keeps that left armpit closed up. Another thing to note is the head movement, the eyes watching the ball a bit there. I like that for sure. So here's one that he only hit it about 350, and this was on 17. Now here you get a good idea of how the motion to start the swing is a fairly complicated trigger. He stands up, he leans back, his arms tense up. Watch, his right elbow is going to roll in a bit if you watch it right there. And that's going to set the club. Now that club is not closed right now. In fact, he's got it toe up. Now as this thing makes its way up, this is where he will actually bend his right wrist back and get into what you might refer to as a tray holding position up here. And that is what's going to get that left wrist bowed like that. Now, to do that and to keep that right arm in front of you like that, you've got to be pretty strong. So, if anything, he's pretty strong. Now watch it descend right in front of him, and then bang. Pretty cool. So, there he is, Dustin Johnson. Beautiful.